Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to Macchiarini Creative Design and North Beach First Friday. We have a nice lineup tonight. I'll start out with a few short poems. This is called 33. 33. Eyes splinter into bird feet, black on two chipped teeth, and spiders weave below one knee. The body, canvas, a fruit pit, 33. Food stays on, friends die, my face sags like a drinker. Ravens of Juno. They come in spring and fly in a blue, art-bright sky. They use the winds to fixate, to heckle the duende. So much for Amaya, Lorca, and Isadora. The ravens are Messiaen's silent prayer. They are the dark spot that dances on Cecil Taylor's anorexic heart. The Adirondacks. The clouds are black, but rain is an illusion. The green tennis ball rests in grass by the placid lake. The small child skips alone, looking for the ball. Nobody wants to play. Her curls droop. Okay. Yeah. This is called Tambourine. It's going to be a book in a different form after this one, but this is the one that Brandon at the Beat Museum put together for my reading up at Coit Tower, and he just made 10 copies at the very last minute so that people would have, there was enough copies that people could pick what poem they would read, so. But thank you for asking. And Patrick was very inspirational in making sure that I get a little book out. Everyone was sick of it because Patrick was at the North Beach Festival one time when all my poems blew away in the wind. And people were running around all over the street picking them up. And Patrick came up, he's like, "Those are your only copies of all of those poems, aren't they?" I said, "Yeah, they are." He's like, "I can't put up with this anymore." So anyhow, next, please welcome Barbara Paschke.
Well, hopefully this won't blow away. Okay, so I'm going to read. This is a poem I just got from a French poet that I have go back and forth with, and he's really hilarious. And I have not met him, but we communicate all the time. And this was one of his latest, and this is called. I'll read the English first, and then the French. Francis Combe. Yes, Francis. Yes. Yes, everybody. He's great. So this is Christopher Columbus's mistake. On the list of famous mistakes, Christopher Columbus occupies a prominent place. When, after years of petitioning and waiting in the royal courts of Portugal and Spain, the Nina da Pinta and the Santa Maria finally set sail on the ocean sea. Christopher Columbus thought he was traveling toward India. When he reached the Caribbean, he thought he'd achieved his goal. At the time of his death, he still believed that. Yet, it's in making the mistake that he discovered America. The scientific theory of the spherical nature of the Earth, on which it was based, was, however, accurate. But his planispheres and calculations were wrong. Practice sometimes runs circles around theory. Often the result doesn't resemble the plan. In fact, history never follows the chosen path. Life deviates. After Columbus, more than one learned this at their expense. Can we give him grief for what follows? He, the navigator, the dreamer, the scientist, the discoverer. He, the merchant, the evangelist, the enslaver, the tyrant. And in all that history of the New World, the American Indian Wars, Walt Whitman, the dream of democracy, American imperialism, the dictatorships, jazz, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, the first steps on the moon. All this history, was it just a mistake? L'erreur de Christophe Colomb. Dans la liste des erreurs célèbres, Christophe Colomb occupe une place de choix. Quand après des années de démarches et d'attente auprès des rois du Portugal et d'Espagne, la Santa Maria, la Pinta et la Niña enfin se lancèrent sur la mer Océane. Christophe Colomb imaginait voyager vers les Indes. Quand il atteint les Caraïbes, il pensait toucher au bout. Au moment de mourir, il le croyait encore. Aussi, en se trompant qu'il découvrit l'Amérique, la théorie scientifique de la rotondité de la Terre sur laquelle il s'appuyait était pourtant juste. Mais ses planisphères et ses calculs étaient faux. La pratique joue parfois des tours à la théorie. Souvent, les résultats ne ressemblent pas au projet. En fait, jamais l'histoire ne suit la voie choisie. La vie de vie. Après lui, plus dans l'après, et c'est de pont. De ce qui s'en suivit, peut-on faire griffe? Lui, le navigateur, le rêveur, le savant, le découvreur. Lui, le marchand, l'évangélisateur, l'esclaviste, le tyran. En toute cette histoire de nouveau monde, les guerres indiennes, Walt Whitman, le rêve démocratique, l'impérialisme états-unien, les dictatures, le jazz, le Corée, le Vietnam, l'Irak, les premiers pas sur la Lune. Toute cette histoire ne faut-elle qu'une erreur? So on a totally different vein now, I have a couple of poems by women, and in a quite a different vein. This is an old favorite of mine. La gramática miente, by Ana María Rodas. Como todo invento masculino, femenino no es género, es un adjetivo que significa inferior, inconsciente, utilizable, accesible, fácil de manejar, desechable y sobre todo violable. Eso primero antes de cualquier otra significación preconcebida. Grammar lies, like all masculine inventions. Feminine is not a gender, it's an adjective that means inferior, irresponsible, usable, accessible, easy to handle, disposable, and above all, viable. That's first, before any other preconceived meaning. Okay, and one more. This is by a Chilean poet, Eddie Lamar. And this is in a similar vein. Proclama uno. Me declaro ingobernable y establezco mi propio gobierno. Inicio un paro indefinido y que el país reviente de basura, esperando mis escobas. Soy mujer de flor en pecho. Y hasta que se desplomen los muros de esta cárcel, me declaro termita, abeja asesina y marabunta. Y garense los pantalones, las faldas ya están echadas. Proclamation 1. I declare myself ingovernable and establish my own government. I am beginning an indefinite strike, and may the country burst with garbage awaiting my brooms. I am a woman's woman, and until the walls of this prison collapse, I declare myself termite, killer bee, plague of ants, and hold on to your pants. The skirts have already been cast off.
Thank you, Barbara Paschke. And next, please welcome Neeli Cherkovski.
Okay, the scene of this poem took place 40 years ago, 90 feet from here, right around the corner on what was then Harwood Alley, and now it's renamed after my old roommate Bob Kaufman Alley. And I read this poem. Last time I read this poem was in with Jack and Aggie in Hall, Austria. And Jack was with me, and I was nervous reading it, and you'll see why, because there were a bunch of high school kids who spoke English, and I was worried. I don't know why I was worried. Eros Flowers for Eric Walker, our old friend Sarah. Great poet. There's a selected poems of his out. Ah, my wild, thin, broken body of a young man, just 18. Who won a poetry prize 4 years earlier for a poem about flowers dying in a vase, raising their arms to hard sunlight. Yes, how broken down and beaten. Yes, I turned you over for one side and felt you deep in my mouth. Then a stream of cum all over my heart. The veins of your poem came rushing along the side of my room, from walls rocking into the night. My bed soaked in your poems, the flowers struggling toward emancipation, ignorant petals of a bloom. Cruel afternoon heat. You said your mother drove you to the award ceremony. Elderly women who also wrote poetry and met every month to talk about it, handed round your wiry frame. You must have given your small hands to each one of them. In taking them back, you also accepted $100, the prize, and a certificate, while all the time you had Rambo on your mind. You were thinking of his dirty ass and his illuminations, and of Verlaine, bald as can be, sipping absinthe in an ill-lit cafe. I wanted to keep you near me, awkward, big nose, tiny lips, and eager voice. I know because they tell me you went north and fell in love with a girl who couldn't have you, and then you were medicated. Then you were thrown into jail and died there a suicide. Not yet 25 years of age, a flower, and there is the sun. I crawled past your balls, pretty wrinkles of time, our bodies warm or cold, the wilted vine, the fallen stem, the colorless petals. Father, I was not mean. It's just that I felt cheated out of the fun. I walked through the forest and saw only moss on old logs. I felt there were demons masquerading as angels. When I came to the river, I dropped my arms deep and felt the glimmer of light from rock-strewn riverbed. You were busy in the Army Photographic Corps, snapping parachutes and pretending to be General George Patton, crawling up the arms of Michelangelo Buonarroti. I was not mean, selfish, yes, and frightened of being left alone. So much do I fear lovely rose gardens and the ruins of dead socialites True, I hated school and was angry at you, but it passed. Sons and daughters often go astray. I think a few nights on the sand dunes taught great lessons. I feel as if the stones were out of the sky, in the clouds. I see now why the drummer boy crashed to his death, because he fell through glass. At last I am liberated in old age. One of my friends died and built a redwood cabin on the sun. Another writes from the medical center, promoting his surgeons. They sleep in the ether. They dine with Einstein. If you fear I've let you down, send a taxi. Talk of the sea and of silence. My bones are flailing now. I wish to be faithful to the wretched night and awaken in a paradise of unlimited choice. You have to think about that. Okay, I'm just going to read a short. I've been reading Yeats, and I've been memorizing a lot of the poems that I actually had memorized a long time ago, but I had to re-memorize them, and it's quite a process as you learn so many new things, like the Lake Isle of Innisfree. Most of you know that. He wrote that when he was 23 years old. You know, I will arise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there of clay and wattles made, and it goes on like that, you know. Just such a great poem. And Sailing to Byzantium, that's a difficult one because it's got so much in it for Yeats. And then the Happy Shepherd he wrote when he was 18, and the next one is the Sad Shepherd, and he was also 18. So he wrote these great poems when he was young, but then as time went on, he just went on, and there's like a huge number of them. A shepherd wandered through the poems of William Butler Yeats in the same year as the Wright brothers triumphed at Kitty Hawk. I know the young man well. He sleeps in the green world. His gold ring is pure imagination. When rain inundates the land, he finds cover in ancient stone from the Druid. He rolls a cigarette and enjoys himself. The sheep seem to be content grazing. They may be hungry, thirsty, and suffering loss of face as men invent a miraculous century. The boy is filled with wonder at the crucible of lights pouring down at night. His mind shifts right and left. He will learn to fly. Thank you.
Thank you, Neeli Cherkovski. Next, please welcome Danny Rosen, who is here visiting from Colorado. He has a place called Lithic Press in Colorado. Please welcome Danny.
I always hated people that read on cell phones, but I didn't bring my printer with me. I've been up visiting my son the last 3 or 4 days up in Redwood country. So I'm real curious to hear some of the stuff I've written recently in the last few days. Greetings from Ellie's Mutt Hut on South State Street in California. Long and lean and fractured every which way by stretching fault lines that make a jumbled geology they call melange, a mixture of stuff from all over the place. Arcata, Eureka, Fortuna, Carlotta, and on down the line of slumped basin towns. Islands from Hawaii and elsewhere rift up from way off like on a conveyor belt and glom themselves onto, not without difficulty, the carnivorous continent drifting generally west and rubbing up against the oceanic crust that dives down deep and melts and rises and explodes over Portland and Seattle. Tectonics are so sexy. The island arcs rift, accrete, and mix with mud coming down from what were mountains sucked into the twisting trench, metamorphing like our best friends from one persona into another, now with Neeli in the milieu, now with Tyler in the Franciscan complex, a hard guy in the workshop. His little girl romps on a jack over oil spills and kitty litter. In low light, I can almost feel the coming earthquake, disintegrating the trees, the hills, a few million years. Imagine what it'll look like then. Time compresses in the brain, and the land folds malleable before my eyes. Highlands rise, rivers run and change their mind, and move up to a real nice place out on Highway 36. As good a place, better than most, to tough it out, whatever it may be, whatever volcanic tsunami, hellfire of raining, glowing, rocking blobs. There goes my Mendocino. The electric school bus factory springs to life and regenerates by driving around, and so it drives around and around, since all the buildings fell into the sea or the river or down the hill. Meanwhile, on the street, life goes by, and that's what the kids are here to participate in. Maybe grab a ball and shoot some hoops, or talk to the hulking shoemaker about the importance of a solid heel, or feel the fabric of fashion sitting by a fountain, alluring and inviting you over. Lucky you, lucky children, living in a time when the school buildings are all gone, when learning could finally happen, when the teachers were everywhere, when everyone did what they could and passed it on. This is called Going to Mars. This is the beginning of a long poem about going to Mars. I've been working on it since 1969, long before I actually went to Mars. When I lived in a land where people pick and choose what to tell a sunburst hanging over the door, swinging down the line. Give me a drill, a table, an umbrella, some chickens, a river to wade into and come out on the next floor red. Not Mars, but on a planet where they don't like the words but and not and. If you know what I mean, you must be one of them, a slightly different version of those who live up the road and visit whenever they want, and we take notice or not. Whoops, here comes that word again. Here comes a river breeze. Here comes the power company taking down the redwoods to cover their ass, my ass, and the dogs and cats who run the place, or so they think, or so they stoop to eat, or so they suddenly pounce or chew on a hanging wire, or just act completely lazy. They never contemplate how lucky they are to be such artifacts of reincarnation. And speaking of Buddha, did you hear the one about the ravens who came in at midnight disguised as darkness? Incognito, they jimmied the kitchen door and did not eat us out of house and home, but flew off with our finest china and sold it for a profit in Singapore, where those people, You know those people. They go to Mars for the weekend, for the red films, for the rivers that no longer run in anything like regular time. And they say people up there always invite you over for supper when you least expect it. Well, since you're here, Neeli, I can't help but read a little bit from the Tuscan Journals, which I wrote 5 years ago when Neeli and his partner Jesse and some other friends were in Italy for a few weeks. And a lot of you know Neeli, and a lot of you have just met him. And I often describe that trip as having, I took a trip to Neeli. Italy was in the background. And anyway, this poem goes, yeah, hallelujah. This poem goes on. I'll just read the first page or so. From the Tuscan Journals. Neeli writes Bagnone by doorways, by lintled windows. Bagnone arches ever outward from the town center, under blue sky, over dark oak and purple pine. Gulls glide over Neeli, riding on blue-lined pages. People walk by, descendants of empire, living well, or not, as if on the set of a film actors come and go without a script. Abrupt scenes go past. Lives occur at a glance. Bells ring on the half hour. Birds sing Italian bird songs. Two men walk arm in arm. Rock walls rock, motorbikes mock, motorbike sounds that fade away, and peace returns to conversations that know no more than cobblestones. The citizens were just like us, but for the grace of what, of where, of who hoots, a bug-eyed Italian owl. Pound lives in Neeli, in moments, in spasms, in old town rainstorms under red umbrellas. Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, all will come to pools of grief. All will give or take the hard yard of the hard world, of the hard people who don't stop the run of the river inside. He is the river unbuttoning his shirt, sharing a little too much, keeping abreast of just another oddball idea of who walked that Adriatic promontory when it was still beneath the sea, when Verona slipped off her jeans, when that scratching at his cabin door, when those lusty whispers in the dark, when toxic vapors spread across the communal hills. Here come the Jerrys, tanks, artillery, bayonet soldiers on the ramparts, partisans and baggy whites running along a curving shore, sighting scopes on the seaside town, urging those who never stop to stop at last, to give in, to finally know it all comes to naught. Everything but what you make, what you leave behind. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Danny Rosen. And we're going to close out the evening with some music from Carol Denney and Scott Thompson. So just bear with us for a few minutes while they just get set up.
So first I just wanted to do, and this is Scott Thompson, one of my favorite people. Woo-hoo! So first I just wanted to show you what the fiddle tradition sounds like in West Virginia. And I know this is a little crazy. It's almost rhythm free, and which is a hardship for Scott over here. But it kind of, you kind of end up falling into the middle of it somehow. It's called You Piney Mountain. So in Southern California, there's a nickname for Donald Trump. It's called La Naranja, which means the orange one. And you'll see these signs on people's lawns, especially people, the Spanish-speaking community down there, which is from several countries, but they got one thing straight, which is they just say, naranja, and there's a red circle with a line through it. And I thought that was so charming. I began to refer to Donald Trump in my head as La Naranja. And I ended up writing this song that is a sing-along, and I hope you'll join me in it. It's called Todavía La Naranja, which means, and I know a lot of you speak Spanish, it means even now and still the orange one. It's like the thing you can't get off your shoe, you know? So, ¿dónde está la naranja? Está mirando a la Casa Blanca. ¿Dónde está la naranja? Está mirando a la Casa Blanca. Todavía, ¿dónde? ¿Por qué a la Casa Blanca no perdió las elecciones? No, nadie lo entiende. Si perdió las elecciones, todavía, ay, 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 todavía, ay, 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 todavía, ay, 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 todavía. ¿Dónde está la naranja? Todavía está en el Twitter. ¿Dónde está la naranja? Todavía está en el Twitter. Todavía, everybody, ay, ay, ay. Todavía, ay, ay, ay. Todavía, ay, ay, ay. Todavía. ¿Dónde está la naranja? Todavía está en su mente. ¿Dónde está la naranja? Todavía está en su mente. Todavía, ay, 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 todavía, ay, 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 todavía, ay, 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 todavía. The chorus one last time. Todavía, ay, 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 todavía, ay, 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 todavía, ay, 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 todavía. Gotta tune this thing. And then I was hoping I could get Scott to sing a song for you. He's got a beauty. I'm almost there. All right.
Hey, okay. I don't blame you for I know you want it. That's your love for me forever. I could hold you, but you ain't unhappy. It's alright if that's the way you feel. I know that I will always carry. But your love is now must from me. I need you and I know you want me. But it's alright if that's the way you feel. Let's let Carol take one now. One more chorus. I know that I always want it, but you're feeling that I must be me. I don't need you and I want you with me. But it's alright if that's the way you feel. Oh, but it's alright if that's the way you feel. Thanks, Frank. Frank Holmes. Do Waterbound? Just one more.
So thank you, Carol Denney and Scott Thompson, with Frank Holmes joining in for a song. Frank Holmes from the Kentucky Twisters. Anyhow, thank you very much for coming, everyone. Also, in addition to thanking Macchiarini Creative Design, cheers to yourselves, to the audience. I've been doing this series now for almost, I think, 3 years, and it's always a great audience, and that is because of all of you. And also thanks to my friend Colin for recording the series every month for Alcatraz Radio, so you can see all of the readings on Alcatraz Radio. And have a great rest of the evening. Come join us up at Coit Tower, celebrating the work of Janice Mirikitani, who was the second poet laureate of San Francisco. 9 p.m. up at Coit Tower on the back lawn. Thank you very much for being here.